what about the link between music and your movie interference, and because does the music just illustrate the phenomena, or there is something more? Because like in dance, for example, when you make music for choreography, there is some independency between music and between dance, and it's interesting to analyze how to relate music and something else.
Yes, so IMéRA is the one we produce, and for that installation, so the composer is coming and is also watching the test we are doing in the lab. So he's following the project at the same time as we tune the science and we decide what we do with that, or the graphic part. And the idea from the start was to... So from the start it was meant to be to fuse the three parts. I mean, the science, the visual part, and the music. And for example, for that there is different transposition. I mean, mutation of this piece is when you do just the science, you have rings and you see one thing. If you start putting a sound with the visual part, you see something that is different. For example, the fact that we use different sound for the different rings make it, what the feeling you have is that all the rings are different. For example, there is one with a scratch sound, and this is the only ring. When you look, it moves like that. If it produces shh, and it moves like that, and we were very surprised. So we even permute the voltage generator with another machine, and in fact it was producing the same effect. So this is just the fact that if you put a sound, your spirit will tune what you see on what you hear, and then it will produce a different feeling. So for example, one discovery was that even the ring was, if you have very brutal sound, the ring is perfect, whereas if you put no sound, you see maybe not the defect, but all the physics of the mixing behind the rings. So what you see depends on the music. One point, so the music is impacting the way you may use the choreography of this thing. And at the beginning we produced, so the composer came with, for example, a proposal of sound. But if you just use a rhythmic part and you put the rings on top of the rhythmic part, it's nice, but it's just amazing in a way. And so we say, okay, this is not what we want to do, so maybe I was proposing to do something very geometric, to use that as a matrix, and to do a choreography like using that as a matrix, but then the sound is not at all, I mean, then it's the music that is not part of the whole universe. And it ended up that we mixed the performance is, the composer is mixing, so it has a rhythmic base, and then is shooting graphical series in the music base, and this builds the universe. So when you do that, you mix the rhythmic with the choreography, then the whole show is changed nature, and you have really drawn into the show. And for example, one amazing thing is that when we did that with the public, and when there is the public inside, it's also different, because when we did that with the public, so this was for Nuit Blanche, we set the installation 1 week before we test the installation, so I was very used with the installation, but when the public came, I was in the room, and at some point, and the composer was playing, and at some point, I got the feeling really to be inside the ocean and to see a jellyfish ballet. And all the people I asked in the room who got exactly the same idea. It was drawn in this part. So I think and that is why we have to. There is something easy is to put together, for example, science and visual part, and it's to go as far as you can in the interconnection between that.
Thank you.
This was a short answer.
I guess I have a question for Heiko. I'm just trying to compare the presentation this morning and your presentation, and it seems to me the nature of the interaction between you and the artists, or you and the scientists, is somewhat different. it seems to me, but maybe I'm wrong, Heiko, that you have some artistic projects where you need sort of scientific and technical expertise to help you realize the project that you have in mind. Whereas this morning, there was much more of an open, somehow the art project wasn't predefined ahead of time. Am I misreading how you approach these collaborations, or?
I think, I guess to a certain degree, depending on your proposition, somehow it's, of course there's the question of use as well. I mean, sort of, I guess that's inherent to our proposition that it's not very useful, maybe, I don't know. So that's basically, I don't know if that's the answer, but I think there is something, I guess there's also, I sometimes feel there's also quite a lot of strain on art and science in the sense that some of the result is a very homogeneous, kind of successful, potentially usable. I mean, I think an underwater nuclear power plant sort of exploding is not, it's true. Yeah, I mean, the proposition is such. And I think this is something which I find remarkable also about Jean-Marc is, of course, I'm a bit mal à l'aise to see science as a kind of like a service provider, and I don't think at all we have that relation, because that's what I really like, because we could also expand on that. We're on a kind of like permanent exchange of ideas. But on the other hand, I don't find a way around saying it's, and I find it particularly encouraging that as Jean-Marc and the laboratory LADIX is in a sort of, let's say, proximity to French nuclear science, you could say, very close. So it's obviously also a challenge somehow to accept a project like that, because it's totally unuseful and stupid, of course. And
so I guess the reverse side of that, just thinking of comparing Patrice with Jean-Marc and how the two of you approach these projects, it seems to me, Jean-Marc, you in fact have almost crossed whatever that fuzzy border is, and you have gotten very interested in the staging, right? In the staging of something which is not just a demonstration, but is beyond that.
Yeah, to me, I think but I know the stage Patrick is right now. Patrice is right now, but I think we have to cross the border. I mean, for me, the fact to decide from the beginning what we are doing, we have to know what we are doing, and we have to know if we do science. Maybe we may do the two together. It's we may do the art piece at the same time we do the research. This is what they are trying for the cusp and to do at the same time. But you cannot do something that is. You have to start by saying, okay, we will produce something that is in the art part, and then you have to leave the border. You have not to grab to the science to feel secure. You have to jump into the water, for example, for this Planet Laboratoire, for example, the scientific ideas. One smart idea is the way to inject the fluorescent dye. So you have to go and show the exhibit. The way to inject is with a cupola, and this is the idea of Heiko. This is not the idea of the scientists in the team. And to answer the first question is that we start. So they come to me with this photo montage with no prescription, instead except what we should do, what we may do to do that in installation. But in that part, I was more I was injecting ideas, expanding possibilities, saying that maybe we may go on water, use dye, things like that. But they were, the universe maybe were not fused in a way, if I want to analyze that in that way. Whereas in the second one, really this was a brainstorming before the start of even the start of the idea, the first idea. They have some will to do something, but nothing's prescribed at all, except maybe to the whole philosophy with cloud, and we come together to the final design. Maybe you want to.
Yeah, well, I think there's no really, I mean, it's true, I think as I said, I do guess I see also myself actually, the difference somehow, and, but I sometimes also, I mean, like, for example, and I just mentioned today Nuage Vert, and it's just literally, maybe it's true actually, we work with because we actually always actually work quite free and approach laboratories like that in our chaotic way, I have to say, and I think sometimes there is something in me which also says that's important, I don't know, but maybe we can offer you a chair in our studio if you want. No, but I mean, there is to make something happen, for example, which nobody gives you funding or support, but which you think it's important to happen. For example, in Helsinki, we work with a PhD student, which I'm still very grateful, and it's true, it's more like, maybe it's true, it's like a service, because it was impossible at that time to build that kind of laser, and also too dangerous somehow. So it's true that all the laboratory we approached, oh no, you can do that with go-go lights, or or this or that, but we can't do that here, or that's not interesting, and that's an experience we had often. For example, I could say in Paris, but as one researcher, Heiko, I'm still grateful for him, who said, okay, that interests me, I want to get also into laser projection, and why not, and let's build this thing together, and then you go there at night and build it, but no other person would have built you or giving you the money to do it, so that's the way to do it, and I think I have a similar experience in Paris, when we did it in Saint-Ouen, because we need this special camera, which is nowadays a bit more common, but there was a time where it was difficult to get them, and also didn't get too boring now with a special output so we can read in our software. And the only place a founder approached French aerospace somehow, and it was impossible for officially to support them, because in the beginning we had lots of lunch together, and at the end of the day, still I shouldn't really say it's not because he's not allowed to do it, but it's a friend from there who always comes to do Nuage Vert. He comes at night with his computer and his cameras, and we do it, So if I guess if we find I don't know, it's true, but we also work, I guess, at artists, as we said earlier, much more chaotic and much more unorganized and much more, so our needs for collaboration are quite flexible, undefined, and chaotic. So I don't know,
And about the same topic. Could you be more precise about the money? Who pays for the cameras? Who pays for the building of the prototype and so on?
Which one?
The last one. Yeah. Any example?
Well, this is kind of mostly auto-organized. Let's take Nuage Vert, for example. We have applied for a fund for a prototype. It's this in Paris. It's called DICREAM, aide à la réalisation d'un dispositif. So then you apply. As I said, we got into a 2 years collaboration with Helsinki Energia, for example, who is the energy provider. And even though they didn't want to do the project, somehow we got more partners in the city. We built up partners. So we built up, the city of Helsinki becomes a strategic partner. And then we had environmental activist groups, which are our partners. So we built up, and we have a festival called Pixel Egg. So we trying to build up a group of people, and eventually Helsinki Energia couldn't, let's say, or wouldn't want to refuse the project, and so invested in it well. So if you want, the whole budget was, I can't really say it, but even the laser itself is obviously, at that time we bought the diode pure from Carl Zeiss Lehner in Germany, and we had to convince them to sell us the diode, which is in itself 20,000 euros, but I mean, we got it for a material price. So all these things are obviously negotiated. And again, for collaboration, I mean, we worked with a PhD student called Joey Hagedorn in Illinois University for Computer Science, who wrote the main part of the core, because at that time, I think you still can't do it. At that time, definitely not. There was no way they can do real-time control of laser, at least not on the commercial market, I don't know. So X, Y, typical, it's very static kind of commercial thing. So the core element to drive the lasers are actually written by Joey Hagedorn, a PhD scientist from the University of Illinois, which I never met in my whole life, but it's a kind of communication over the internet, and to ask if he can And then if I say all these stories, I feel like a needy person who. But I mean, that's the only way. I couldn't have. We had if you ask a commercial price for a laser, which wouldn't even do what we want to do, we got at that time, I think 100,000 euros offers from companies, just for a rental or something. We wouldn't even do the thing. So that's why we had to build it ourselves. And then, if you have to build something yourself with a limited amount of budget, then you have to find a way to auto-organize that.
Same question, and the set is built on your place, not in the laboratory.
A bit everywhere. I mean, as I said, that was in Helsinki. We built it at night at the computer and the laser physics laboratory, but also in our place in Paris. So.
Maybe for the Planet Laboratoire, I think the tests are done in the laboratory, but we have it's informal program. I think it's part of our activity, so it will be its old connection with science and society. This is part of that. So there is no particular support, but this is in the job, part of the job in what the lab should do.
There's not so much.
Does that mean that some technicians do help you?
The technicians do help you. They have the name on the. The production in a way. This will be part of the production of the lab, and what is in the scientific production also to produce this type of collaboration. And again, the collaboration, I think there is. We cannot say there is one. There is many different ways of collaborating. There is where the artist may just grab some science or just reappropriate some science and then reuse it and totally kind of freely. There is many different ways of doing art and science collaboration.
The point is that this is part of a program which is validé, agréé by your laboratory. I mean, if there is some space and time being involved.
Yes, but because it's a little like if we when we do we all the connections. For example, it's for a lab. It's not so formal. For example, when you have a visit from schools or if you go to one particular science exhibit, there is not a particular program to well defined. So in the way we see that program connection with the society, in the lab there is this collaboration with artists. So we say, we don't tell the people, we say yes to all the. Now sometimes it's to help also a theater to do a particular effect. So sometimes we are just in the. The way I see the mission or what we as scientists has to do as a scientist, as a researcher, this is part of the job to move in this. So we don't need a particular program. We don't need to justify any particular expense. This is in the general what the lab is supposed to collaborate or to invest on.
But I think this is very exceptional. I mean, the answer you have for most of scientific saying that, okay, that's nice, but I can't do it. It's not a question of idea, it's a question of production. I mean, they don't have the opportunities to do it. And I think this is very, very.
But it's a freedom we may take. But I think for me, I'm advocating for that not to be a freedom, as I told to maybe several people. There is, for a scientist, there is 4 missions. One is to do research, one is to teach, one is to do valorization with the industry, and the other one is to do mediation to the public. So the way we give back to the public. And if you imagine the job in that way, at an equal importance, then it's really part of the main job of the scientist. So it's not something, this is not at all a hobby or anything particular, it's something that is in the core business. And we are moving into that, I think, in the, if I may, just my personal experience is that I put that in my all, so as a scientist, every 2 years and even more every 4 years, you have a full expertise, a full report of what you do. So there is referee that will look at what you are doing and look at your program. what is your production. So I put that in my production since the 90s. I got not a single word commenting on that. So no, something good or bad, or you should not do that, or go for more than 10 years. And only maybe 10 years ago it started to be appreciated, saying, okay, and this is moving more into something that now it's considered as important. So we have moved from maybe tolerated but hidden to something that may be a little more efficient, and to something that may be more appreciated. I'm a positive guy.
I have a short comment to make, and I want to make it now because it goes already back to what Heiko said before. And I think it's something we should keep in mind as the workshop goes. Heiko, obviously your work and Fleur de Lis is a political statement, and it cannot, all those kind of works cannot necessarily be done within legal, normal art science collaborations, because for many reasons the scientists or the labs, the institution cannot commit legally and officially. So you have to find signed ways, and I think we'll have that tomorrow with Monsieur Mou, Maxime too. And I think that when we talk about art science collaboration, this is something we should keep in mind, that often, not all, well, sometimes, let's say, art projects are breaking rules and have to be done sidewalks. And when we have this hope of art science collaborations institutionalized, probably this is not possible. So this is just one comment. Roger, and then...
I just want to pick up on a comment you made, Jean-Marc, about that you hate the kind of science education is done where you simplify the phenomenon until it becomes incomprehensible, and that you prefer to show complicated situations, which is almost the opposite of what we saw this morning, where the whole attempt of Patrice was to, and Javiera was to, it was almost like artistic abstraction of simplifying the situation to something that was very legible. So you want to, maybe you could expand on this complexity.
Complexity pedagogy, by complexity. No, it's just one. So first, my personal feeling when I go to a science museum is that they give you a single way. Maybe it's moving now, but very usually you have a single track. You have to follow a single track. You cannot speed up if you want to speed up. You have to follow a single track. You go step by step, and at the end you are supposed to understand something. And everything is made very easy, and at the end, if you cannot catch what they want to say, or if you are not surprised or disappointed, so usually at the end of that, I'm very disappointed, because either this was too simple, or at the end, I don't see what is the point. And to me, it's like we may trust the people to be. I mean, to transfer something is not to say to make it as simple as possible, and then you may grab it. And again, you are a dummy guy if you are not able to grab it. So we are in a very dissymmetric way. If you make things very simple, it's you are on the stage, and you simplify it, and then you transfer. And the people, even if they catch what you are getting, they still have just a simplified version. And there is another way to trust the people to be smart and to have their own feeling, and they have to build their own understanding. So it's another way you reverse the flux of the question. So the questions are coming first, and they will have to get the answer, and you are not helping them to get the answer. In fact, when we do this tornado show, there is people that will explain. So there is questions that are coming, and we explain, and the people first start looking. They are very puzzled by the whole installation, and after some time, maybe after 5 or 10 minutes, they are coming to us and asking, okay, this is the heat that is doing this thing, and they say, no, look, there is a blower hidden there, so there is a blower that is not visible, that is imposing the rotation, but it's not visible, so you cannot catch exactly where it is. So,
Simple. What we're trying to do with the juice is to extract one phenomenon from the constant flow of the water, but we're not trying to simplify the phenomenon.
if I may comment on that, yes, they are following what we do in science. The aesthetic part of science is that we have to isolate one. So we cook the thing to isolate one simple phenomena from all the rest, and with one phenomena we are able to, if it's the good one, we're able to explain that. So they are following this type of aestheticism intrinsic to the science, because this is exactly the way science is analyzing something.
I am sorry, but we have time for 2 short questions and 2 short answers. If you will do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, a very short question about the space-time cut and the time trace. How long it took? I mean, it seems like it's relatively short sequences.
From the movie to so first, that is a very old technique, so it has been invented. So it's called slit camera. So in the past you were moving the film in front of a small slit, and this is a technique that is used to do the photo finish of all the races.
Okay.
So it's a very old technique to produce this. So even if you want to know who was the first to cross a line, you have to look at what is happening on that line over time. So this is this picture we have all seen some days of a race. So when you look at a race, people have flexible legs for that. So that was just to mention that. And so the sequence depends. I mean
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. Because it's the kind of...
I'm sorry.
There is a Peshakusha session just after, and you can talk after. Okay, thank you very much for your speech.
Thank you.